This is the Angels POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Los Angeles Angels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, Halo Nation. Hello, Halo hopefuls, and welcome back to the latest edition of the Locked On Angels POSTCAST. Coming at you live, as always, after every single Angels game, right here live on the Locked On Angels YouTube channel, and after the fact, both on the channel and wherever the heck you get the Locked On Angels audio podcast feed. If you don't know who I am, what's going on, everybody? My name is Gavin Carlson, former credentialed journalist in the LA area, spent not one, not two, not three, but 4 years covering UCLA sports with the Daily Bruin, now in year 2 with the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Our team is the Angels, and unfortunately, again, this hopefulness, this optimistic view of the end of the season, of the wild card race, it's really fizzled out because the Angels, they continue to lose series outside of sweeping the Dodgers, and they look like they're on their way to losing another as they lose the series opener against the Chicago Cubs at the Big A. 3-2 the final, and of course, a couple main headlines. The first being Yoan Moncada with a 2-home run night that is completely wasted by an embarrassing performance by the rest of the lineup. Also, the other headline, of course, Kenley Jansen blowing this game. We're going to have some uncomfortable conversations about Kenley Jansen because this is now his second time in just a few days that he's come in a non-save opportunity, and it has not gone well. But first and foremost, before we do that, shout out to everybody in here as always. As you can tell, I'm in the new setup. I am no longer in Southern California. For those who are, of course, returners and familiar with the show and everything, I have talked about it enough, and I won't talk about it too much. But yes, I officially made my move back to the Bay Area. For the next couple of months, I will be in this setup in my house, and then in a couple months, we'll be in some sort of apartment in the city, San Francisco. But yeah, shout out to everybody. Appreciate the patience. I know I wasn't able to do the show 2 days ago. And of course, the Angels continue to do what the Angels do. When I don't do the postcast, they love to play well. And so maybe I should not have done the postcast today because I just had a feeling, right? I did not do the postcast on Wednesday. The Angels lost on Monday when I was at the Big A. They lost on Tuesday when they did the show. But on Wednesday, when I don't do the show, they win. I had a feeling I'd come back to do the show today and that they would lose, and that's exactly what happens. Again, 3-2 the final on Logan O'Hoppe bobblehead giveaway night on Friday, and another disappointing loss for the Angels. Of course, I'm sporting my hat that my guy Vinny got me, and I know the setup is not angeled enough right now, okay? So I'm sporting the hat, but there will be changes to the background. We're going to make it so you can actually see what that sign says. We're going to take down some of the old stuff and get everything that was in my apartment back in this room because, it was in my room growing up, and then I had to take it down to bring it to LA and filled it in the spaces here. I got to bring it back and get it back on the walls here, right? So that we can have the proper Angels representation. Angels win says soon to be 12 years, no playoffs, and it's got him a little annoyed. Yeah, I was listening to the, Angels radio post-game show, and the first guy that called in just said flat out, it's ridiculous. It's another year without the playoffs. It feels like everybody, even the homers, even the Halo hopefuls, even the honks, everyone is admitting at this point that the playoff dream is slowly gone, right? And it's ironic. The rest of the AL wildcard teams are not playing that well. I think a couple of them lost again tonight, but it doesn't matter because it's not just that the Angels are losing more games than they're winning, at a time when they needed to go on a win streak, but it's that the ways they're losing, right? Again, the coin flip joke, it's a joke, but it's also true. The Angels came into this game, despite recent losses, still 23-15 in one-run games, and yet this is a one-run game that they lost. Again, Kenley Jansen, one of the few reliable parts of this team, he responsible for the loss. The ability to have late comebacks, a big part of this team, and we technically had that a little bit today, but we also didn't have that today, right? So the few things the Angels do right, they're starting to do those less and less well with each game that goes on, and it just feels like all the momentum is gone. But with all that being said, we'll get into America's favorite segment. It's the Turning Point.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the Turning Point.
And of course, the turning point at the top of the ninth inning, in case you missed it, it was a pitcher's duel all game long. A Kyle Tucker home run made it 1-0 Cubs. The Cubs added one more in the third on a Seiya Suzuki sac fly. It was 2-0 at that point. And then Yoan Moncada with a pair of solo shots to tie the game at 2 gave us an opportunity to make it a coin flip game. But unfortunately, Kenley Jansen comes in for a non-save opportunity. And I want to hear right away in the comment section your thoughts on Ray Montgomery going to Kenley Jansen in the ninth. Nathan here says Kenley Jansen's ERA in non-save situations is the poop emoji. Mahoko says we could use Luis Garcia in the ninth, right? And Hebron Avila, I hope I said that right, says Montgomery should not be considered to be our full-time manager. And I'm sure his decision to bring in Kenley here, part of your logic for putting that comment, because yes, Kenley comes in the ninth in a non-save opportunity, and he throws a 1-1 cutter with one out right down the middle to Pete Crow-Armstrong. And it's ironic. The two guys that go deep for the Cubs, Kyle Tucker, a phenomenal player who had been on a bit of a cold streak. The other guy that goes deep here in the ninth inning, Pete Crow-Armstrong, who the first half of the season was an MVP candidate. Boy, oh boy, has he cooled off. But I don't care how cold you are. When you get a cutter right down the middle and you're a good hitter against righties like Pete Crow-Armstrong is, he delivers. He hits his 28th homer of the season, right center field. He was fired up after he hit it. And again, the great thing with Kenley Jansen, that cutter, is everybody knows it's coming, and yet he's able to put it in spots where it's hard to hit it. The problem is everybody knows it's coming, and so when he doesn't put it in a spot that's hard to hit, this is what happens. He throws one right there, and Crow-Armstrong, crushes it to give the Cubs a 3-2 win and the 3-2 lead and the 3-2 victory. Now, let's talk about Kenley Jansen, right? Do uncomfortable conversations need to be had? I have been criticized by quite a few people for saying that we should have traded him at the deadline, and criticized by some people on Tuesday when I was critical of Kenley Jansen for losing that game for us. The moral of the story is he has still had a phenomenal season, right? The ERA is still just barely over 3, and you could make the argument it's a little inflated because of just a few blow-up outings earlier in the season. Before these last couple of outings, before he gave up the home run to Shohei Ohtani in the Dodgers series, he was having the best stretch of maybe at least the last couple of years of his career, but maybe his entire career. He was playing lights out in save opportunities, but in another non-save opportunity, he blows it. Now, he did the same thing on Tuesday against the Reds. He came in for a non-save opportunity, gave up 2 hits, and gave up the 2 earned runs, had a walk as well. We know what he did on Sunday against the A's, where he loaded the bases, had 2 walks and a hit, but fortunately got out of that jam in what was a non-save opportunity. So clearly he is not good in non-save opportunities. Some people are going to point to Ray Montgomery as, what are you doing putting him in? Honestly, I'm going to be honest with you guys. When he put him in, I'm like, Kenley Jansen's our best pitcher. He's our best reliever. And this is a close game. We really need this win. And I'm in favor of putting your best pitchers on the mound in the biggest moments. And I know it's not a save opportunity, but you can't act like, and don't use the fact that it didn't go well. And I know it's becoming a trend because it's happened a few times in a row now, but I still refuse to believe that that's the reason that he's giving up runs, because we're not, we don't have a lead going into the inning. The moral of the story is Kenley Jansen, he's done one thing his whole career: come in the ninth inning and try to pitch well. And whether you're up 5 runs or the game is tied, it remains the same. You sit for 8 innings and do nothing. You warm up in the bullpen. You come in the ninth and you try to not give up any runs. And the fact that he threw a pitch right down the middle, I don't think it's because the game was tied and not because we were up 1. I think Kenley throws pitches down the middle, honestly, and gets away with it because of that cutter, and he just didn't get away with it this time. Aaron brings up a good point that he is injured, right? We do know he's injured. And Aaron's saying he's playing hurt for no reason. If there's a chance that your pitcher is injured, there's no reason to put your guy in. I agree. But at the same time, let's be honest, the state of the bullpen is not great. Yes, we've seen guys occasionally come in and play well, whether it's in a game like tonight where you see Detmers able to have a scoreless inning. Stevenson looked good, scoreless inning. And Fermin, eventful, but 2 outs from him and out from Chafin. The bullpen did not give up a hit until Reed Detmers in the 8th inning. And then, of course, the solo shot by Kenley in the 9th. So people are going to say, what are you talking about, Gavin? Kenley's not the best pitcher hurt in the bullpen right now. But even if he's not, you used them all earlier in the game. And that's just another problem with this rotation. It's ironic. I've been someone who's been defending the rotation, saying teams have weaknesses. Our weaknesses are rotation, but it's been good enough given the guys there. This is a great example of how our rotation is limited. Tyler Anderson had a decent start tonight, right? 5 innings, just 3 hits. Unfortunately, he gives up a home run and a sac fly. He walks 2, right? But even a decent outing in the Tyler Anderson sense still only gets you 5 innings. So then guess what? You got 4 innings that you need to get through with your bullpen. And so Ray Montgomery, as much as I love to rip on him, you got to tip your cap. He did a good job. Fermin got 2 outs. Chafin got an out. Stevenson went a whole inning. Detmers went a whole inning. The bullpen was great. You got to give Montgomery, as much as I don't want to, credit for making the right changes. And guess what? You come into the 9th inning, you've already used Detmers, you've already used Stevenson, you've already used Fermin and Chafin. I get it. Garcia's there, but let's not act like Garcia's been lights out. And if Garcia came into this game and gave up runs, you guys would be saying, why in the heck is Luis Garcia on the mound, right? So I'm not opposed to the decision to have Kenley Jansen out there. The moral of the story is, and there's drinking game, moral of the story, Kenley Jansen is great, but he's not untouchable for whatever reason. Maybe it's a mental thing, or it's because he's hurt. He did not get it done again in a non-save opportunity. But I don't think it's the end of the world for Kenley. I still would love to see him back next year. And it's ironic. I still would love to see him back next year, but still what I would have loved the most is if we somehow got a prospect or two for him a couple months ago. That's what the logical thing would have been. And I stand by that. And you know I will stand by that till the end of time. But with all that being said, we're going to take our break. When we come back, we have to get into the Yoan Moncada magic show because he was the only guy on the Angels lineup or in the Angels lineup that showed up. We have plenty more people to criticize. We'll do that after our break here on a losing edition of the Locked On Angels postcast. Now, today's show is brought to you by 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It's time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. This grape, ginger, and lime flavored shot brings the iconic taste of a golf course favorite to a non-alcoholic boost. Perfect for sinking birdies or making great memories with friends. It's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Whether you're out on the course or just need a little extra push to power through your day, 5-Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without ever leaving the green. What's the wildest shot you've made on the golf course? I'm curious. For me, where I live now and where I grew up, there was this course that has this crazy hole. It's a downhill hole, and I was young. I think I was 12, and I hit like a ground ball off the tee on a par 3. But because it was downhill, rolled all the way, hit off the flagpole. I think it didn't even end up on the green, but still the fact that a ground ball ends up hitting the flagpole, it was crazy. I'll never forget it, right? But you know what else I won't forget is those moments when you go on the course and you feel like you're going to die because you're so exhausted. Now, fortunately, 5-Hour Energy, they're the solution, whether you're on the golf course, at work, or anything in between. So, yes, I do like to golf, and golf, it's all about good times with good people and good flavors, but so are other things. And the grape, ginger, lime flavor of 5-Hour Energy Transfusion gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without leaving the course or chasing down the bev cart. Now you can amp up the fun even more. Just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for 2 to any golf tournament in the USA. Tee up that trip. Visit 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. It does exclude the Masters tournament, and it ends on October 31st, 2025. Back here live on a losing edition of the Locked On Angels postcast. Angels 2, Cubs 3. The Angels, they scored 2 runs, which isn't good enough, but actually overestimates their performance tonight because outside of one man, the Angels offense was abysmal. As a whole, the team finishes with 3 hits, but 2 of them come from Yoan Moncada, 2 solo shots from Yoan Moncada, just 1 hit from Joe Adell, the only other hit of the night. And again, is our rotation not great? Sure. Is our bullpen very shaky, especially when Kenley's hurt and not playing well? Yes. This Angels lineup is supposed to be the strength of this team. And at the same time, because we are a home run or extra base hit team or bust, a slug or bust team, they are going to be prone to performances like this, right? And so the Angels had one of those performances that you don't want to, you want to forget that this is a possibility, but it certainly is for this team to have a bunch of swing and misses, another 9 strikeouts, have a bunch of weak contact. You got a couple guys hitting over 260, but look at this lineup. Neto 265, Shawnuel 267. No one else in the lineup is hitting over 240, guys. Trout 239, Ward 233, Moncada 239, Adele 233, Ohapi 225, 2 strikeouts, 0 for 3 on his bobblehead night. Infuriating. Moore 186, and Bryce T, he's cool off right away. He's ice cold, unfortunately, now. He's hitting 239. So you got nobody hitting over 240 outside of your top 2 guys. Are we really surprised that the Angels are going to occasionally give you the performance where you have 3 hits as a team, right? Now, fortunately, because we are slug or bust teams, or a team, you do get the magic that tonight was a Yoan Moncada 2-homer night. He ironically has the second highest OPS on the team at 808 behind, yes, still the guy everyone wants to rip on the most, who still quietly has the best OPS on the team, Mike Trout at 816. But let's just look at this top 4, right? The top 4 in the lineup goes 0 for 14. 1 walk, a Mike Trout walk. But outside of that, Neto 0 for 4 strikeout. Shawnuel 0 for 3. Trout 0 for 3 with the walk, but the strikeout, and Taylor Ward 0 for 4 with the strikeout. Now, Zach Neto, I'm not going to be very critical of him. He's still been phenomenal this season, but he has been a little bit quiet since we've come out of the All-Star break. Shawnuel is a guy that I have to defend with a lot of people. I saw someone in here earlier saying, Gavin, can you please? Yeah, Cat Soup's in here saying, Gavin, can you defend Shawnuel being a good player? Angels win thinks he's not. I think and know that he's one of the best players on the team and a top 3 hitter on the team. It's funny you mentioned that, Cat Soup. I talked about this with Angels win in person at the Big A on Monday. I said at the end of the day, he is what this lineup needs because of games like tonight. We don't have guys that consistently get base hits. He's one of the first a few guys that does. Ironically, he doesn't tonight, but he still has the highest average on the team. He's one of the few guys you can trust to not strike out. He still didn't do that tonight. He's going to get a base hit at least one time most of the games, and he's the type of guy you need on this team, right? In other lineups, on other teams, they need power. They would love their first baseman to be a big slugger that's going to hit balls, 480 feet and have 30 home runs and all this, right? But not this team. We already get that from everybody else. I'm very pro Nolan Shawnuel. I think he still has room to grow, right? He has a very high floor, right? And so when you draft him in the first round and you don't see this crazy exit velo, there's concerns. Is he ever going to be worth a first-round pick? Well, guess what? When the Angels do what the Angels do, which is immediately throw you in the show very shortly after you're drafted, it's nice to have the occasional high floor prospect. Because guess what you have when you have the typical prospect that's lower floor but also higher ceiling? You get what we're getting from Christian Moore, where he's going to start hitting in the 180s, right? We saw it with Kyron Paris and Matthew Lugo, and we're still seeing it with Logan Ohapi and Joe Adell for a few years, right? When you ask young guys to not get 2, 3 years, 4 years to be prepared in the minors and then show up to the show, guess what? You need a couple high floor prospects, and that's what Nolan Shawnuel was. That's what he is, and he has gotten better, which again, for a high floor guy to still be getting better each season, I don't know what else you can ask, right? 2023, he hit 275. It was a great, campaign, but only 109 at-bats, right? He only played 29 games. So his first full season is last year. He hits 250. He has some great stretches. He has some poor stretches, but still 250 with a 705 OPS, the on-base percentage at 343. I get it. He didn't hit the ball super hard. 13 home runs, 54 RBIs. But it's a solid full first season from someone who is, a high floor guy, right? This is year 2, technically year 2, and he has improved mightily. The average is almost 20 points higher. The slug is more than 20 points higher. The OPS is in the mid 700s with guys. If you don't know how OPS works, I talk about OPS a lot because it's the more all-encompassing stat, right? If you're in the mid 700s, you are on this team one of the best players, but even on the best teams, you're in the middle of the pack. You're not a below average player, right? David, you're exactly right. He makes contact. He doesn't strike out. I get it. Eric is saying if you're going to pick someone in the first round, you better be better than average. He will be better than average. You can make the argument he already is better than average, but guess what? He's still early in his career. The guy's 23 and he's already a little bit above average, right? I'm not tearing into Christian Moore for hitting 186 right now because he is young. Now, if he has a full another season next year and he's still only hitting 200, that's a bit concerning. But even then, if it's 200 and not 186, technically it's better. If he hits 250 the year after that, he's getting better. And who knows? Christian Moore probably has a higher ceiling than Nolan Schanuel. Christian Moore has the potential to be a 20-20, maybe even a 25-25 type of guy, right? Nolan Schanuel, of course, is never going to be that. But guess what? Already less than 3 full seasons into the league, he's already a average at worst first baseman. And it's not like this team is full of average or better players, right? Come on, guys. Let's not be spoiled here. Schanuel, thank you, Urban Outdoorsman. Schanuel is hitting 270 at 23 years old. There's not many guys doing that. And he's doing that on a team where nobody is hitting over 240 other than him and Zach Neto. Like, guys, how are we wasting? I can't believe I'm on minute 21 of the show today. I've spent the last 5 minutes talking about Nolan Schanuel, having to defend him. He's been one of the best players on the team. If you're going to be critical of Nolan Schanuel, then guess what? Who else you got to be critical of? Every single person on the Angels outside of maybe Zach Neto, right? Like, come on. You literally would have to be critical of every other person on the Angels. You say, well, what about Joe Adell? Joe Adell's OPS is higher, sure, but he's in 233. Right? So I'm going to make the argument that they're equally as valuable. Schanuel doesn't have to do as much in the field, but Joe Adell has been a below average fielder this year, right? So they're right there. And even if you give the nod to Adell this season, guess what? He's much later in his development than Schanuel is. And he's also had much worse seasons in the past than Schanuel. So the moral of the story, as I say it again, is we are not going to look at this game and the takeaway be Nolan Schanuel. The whole 1 through 4 went 0 for 14. The bottom 7, 8, 9 also went 0 for 8. Adell went 1 for 3. And Moncada hit 2 home runs. Now, I didn't even get to talk about freaking Yoan Moncada. Let's do that before we wrap this up.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
Of course, he's the player of the game. There's only 5 runs in the game. Not a single person on the Cubs and nobody else on the Angels, of course, other than Yoan Moncada, had multiple hits in this game or multiple RBIs, right? 2 solo shots from Moncada. You love to see it. Again, he technically has the second highest OPS on the team to Mike Trout. Of course, the plate appearances significantly lower than just about anyone on this roster because of all the injuries. We've only gotten to see him in how many games is it? Let me see. This season, he's only played in 59 games, 180 at-bats. But, you know, the OPS is at 808 because he's been able to hit the home run occasionally. He's got 11 home runs in just 59 games. Obviously, that means if he played a full season, he'd probably be breaking the 20 home run mark. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say. He hits righties really well. We would love to see him stay healthy. Really happy that he had a strong performance here. Another guy that we have to question if he's going to be a part of this team in the future. But again, going back to the Schanuel thing, this is a guy who was just as high, if not more highly regarded as a prospect, right? And let's look at what he's done in his career. 211, 231, 235, 315, 225, 263, 212, 260, 275, and 239. That's his average, right? Now let's add some more context. Other than that amazing 2019 season where he does play 132 games and has a 315 average and 915 OPS, right? He has not had an 800 OPS any other season other than this year, and he's only had 59 games this year. Last year, he played 12 games. The year before that, he played 92, right? So I'm still taking Nolan Schanuel's 3-year start to his career, even over what Moncada's done. Enough of the Schanuel talk, but that's all I'm going to say to leave it there. Shout out to Yoan Moncada. Love to see it. Again, I would love for him to stay healthy. I think he makes a lot of sense as a kind of mid-tier, not old, not young veteran on this roster that can play third base consistently. I love a switch hitter. He's got to be able to hit lefties, but we'll love to see it, especially when we've got the rest of the infield locked down with Schanuel, Christian Moore, and Zach Neto. If Moncada wants to be the third baseman of the future for the next couple of years, I would love to see that. And certainly the outfield is where a lot of the movement is going to be. But with all that being said, we're going to wrap this one up. Angels lose 3-2. Kenley blows it, unfortunately, once again, and Yoan Moncada's 2-home run night is wasted as the Angels fall to 61-67, 6 games below 500. And unfortunately, I do not think we are going to make it to that 500 mark. The question is, how many wins do we finish with? Do we finish with 80? I don't think so. Do we finish with 75? Maybe. But certainly it's going to be difficult. But with all that being said, take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your Friday. Pringle says, glad to see that Gavin is a J. Cole fan. I'm more than a J. Cole fan. I'm a J. Cole stan. He is my number one. I'm not saying he's the best rapper. Certainly taking, Kendrick and a couple others over him, but he's my favorite. So absolutely have to mention that. But take care. Have a great rest of your Friday night, and I'll see you back here tomorrow. Keep your heads up and go Angels.